Welcome to Born for the Trades. I'm your host, Mandy Bala, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Shreya.
Hi, everybody.
Today, we have amazing guest on our show. His name is Levi. He's a business consultant, teacher, author, and successful former contractor who helps other contractors learn to run their businesses with less stress and more success with systems. His work has impacted numerous contractors, most recently through his online programs, the 7 Power Contractor, Signature Operating Manual System, and Signature Staffing System, and his book, 7 Power Contractor. Welcome to our show.
Join us as we dive deep into the world of home service entrepreneurship, interacting with industry leaders, coaches, and entrepreneurs about their experiences, challenges, and victories. Through their inspiring stories, we hope to equip our listeners with the tools and knowledge they need to succeed in the competitive home service industry. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, tune in to Born for the Trades podcast for invaluable insight and real-world inspiration.
Yeah, it's always like, I think we had like so many meetings. I know the first meeting converted into like podcast, like my earlier podcast, not this one. And I'm always like excited and always learned a lot from you. And I needed one help last time when I was about to jump on something, and then you gave me real advice. And I really appreciate that. Like that, I think you were straightforward, Mandy. This is what you should look into it. And then I got 360 view. Oh man, like I gotta look into all these things. Always appreciate you, and you are like collaborating on like Facebook, social media platforms, and helping everyone. And let's start with let's start with your story. How did you transition from being a contractor to becoming a business consultant and teacher in the construction industry? Let's start with your story.
I'm happy to share my story, but first I want you all to know that it was my big goal that I wanted to become a social media influencer. I haven't done any TikTok videos.
Oh, wow. Social media.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, but no, I recognize, you have to go where the format is. We're not in the yellow pages anymore, right? So there's just this whole thing that marketing changes. The marketing basics never change. And this also goes to the 7 powers. There are nuances to it. Things will come along and changes will be made, and they should be, but the basics don't go out of style, and they're always what you lean on. So how did I learn this lesson is what you were asking. Is my family business was started out of my grandfather's gas station in 1936. My dad and my uncle got back from World War II. They really took it to the next level in heating oil, which for those people in the Northeast know that. But otherwise, think propane heating, same idea.
Propane, yeah.
My brothers and I, anybody who's out there listening in the family business, you're going to know what I'm going to say next. We were at work by the age of 8. We were cleaning toilets and emptying baskets and, stuffing statements when they used to mail statements. There's always work to do. And frankly, if we wanted to see our dad, who worked incredibly hard, he'd work all day. And then because we were residential, commercial, and industrial, all 3 segments, and plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical, we would have to go out to service, a bakery or, a nursing home or whatever. And my dad would grab his boys up, put them in the truck, and off we would go. And we were excited as could possibly be. He was not quite as excited. And the reason we were excited is because people we were visiting, they would feed us, they liked to see us, and we got to watch Dad work. What could be better? Now, it was 2 a.m.
Oh my God.
That was kind of the start of, thing. And even though I was going to school, I'm talking all through my school career, when you're not at school, you're at work, if you know what I mean. And so even when I went off to get my engineering degree, which, by the way, fortunately, it's laminated. It's above my desk because I never practiced a day in my life with my mechanical engineering degree. But it was helpful to learn what I needed to learn. And during 6 months of the year when I was not in school, I was driving a truck.
No.
Yeah, yes. So I got to learn the trades from the bottom up. And when I came into the business, the philosophy was hurry up, do something, let's make the money follow. Not like what Ellen says, about Ellen Rohr, my great co-consulting friend. was about doing a budget and all these brilliant things. We didn't know that. We're not that smart. And when people are nice enough to say all these great things about me, yes, I have learned a lot of lessons because I've fallen in every hole there is as a contractor. And all I can give myself credit is when I crawled my way out, I said, oh, that hurt. Let's not do that again. So we would put systems in place to help people and myself and others not fall in the same hole, because the contractor journey, if you think of it as a road, there are tons of holes ahead of you that you want to recover quickly. Don't fall in over and over again. But if you get really good, identify the holes so you don't have to fall in. But Mandy, I've watched so many people over the years continually fall into the same hole. You know, how do I get out of the truck as a contractor? You know, we call it the entrepreneurial seizure, which is, we were talking before we got on, so just to catch you guys up, is that, you know, a lot of guys started as great techs, and people would say, hey, could you do this on the side for me? Or could you come work? Or they thought to themselves, I don't need to work for a boss. I can go off and do my own business. And then reality hits. And none of us really know about all of what it takes and what I call the 7 things: planning, operations, staffing, sales, sales coaching, marketing, and here's the big one, finance. 7 things you need to know. And that's really the foundation for a small company, owner operator, to a $200 million company like Tommy Mello's A1 Garage is today.
Right.
Sticking to the fundamentals. And it's interesting, like how many years of experience do you technically have in the trades? Because I was doing the calculations in my head while you're talking. How many years is that?
Yeah, somebody wanted me to show a picture of the first car I ever had yesterday online. It was a customer of mine, actually. And I go, there are no pictures that exist of that car. And if it did, what I didn't put in is it would be black and white or like really faded color. That's why there's no pictures. But yeah, so officially, my official start date, I worked 26 years with my 2 older brothers and my dad. And I gave Soraya the funny part that is both funny for anyone who's an owner. I gave my older brothers and my dad 3 years notice. That's right. I said 3 years notice that I would be leaving to go do my second career. And because I really needed those 3 years to make sure that the systems I had in place were really rock tight, because honestly, I was not going to leave my brothers and my dad in bad position, but also for myself, because I wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
You know, we can meet up at Thanksgiving, and I love my brothers, right? I love my brothers more so even today. And people go, well, that's because you don't work with them. That is not true. That is not true at all. We worked a great settlement out together. We support each other, and we've gotten closer and closer to the years. And some of that happened a lot of it happened while I was there, because these battles of micromanaging each other and butting heads centered around, it never was clear about whose job it was to do what. So that sets up where everybody is doing it or nobody's doing it, and both are very bad scenarios. So this idea that people have, Soraya, about, you know, when I get bigger, I'll get an org chart. Well, here's what I have to say with right now. You have every box that's on my org chart. I didn't put you in that box. Once the day you decided to go into business, you own all of those boxes. And you can never, ever take anyone willing that shows up at your door and really put them to work to help you until you define the boxes and what goes on in those boxes 80% of the time in documented systems.
Right. And can you go through what that looks like when a contractor is starting to practice the 7-power contractor operating manual system at their company, and how it helps contractors run their businesses more successfully? What does it look like implementing something like that for the first time?
Yeah, so when it comes to I start them out with the org charts, because that's really what I call the bingo board that everything hangs on. Is getting the boxes, understanding what's the boxes. Their relationship is actually very important, because at companies, here's what, anytime I ever speak to a contractor, and I offer free 30 minutes for 20 years, I've been doing this because I didn't finish my second career. So you can total those years up. That's 46 years of doing contractor type work. I'm only, by the way, also, I'm only available for emergency repairs. You can check with my wife. I've made enough money to hire somebody else to crawl under the sink and work upside down. But anyway, yeah. So, the
Amazing.
systems start with the org chart. And every company I've spoken to is the dispatcher thinks they're the boss of the techs. And the techs think they're the boss of the dispatcher. And they are both wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Service manager is the boss of both of them. So if the dispatcher says, you know what, Mandeep is going home every day at 3 o'clock, never takes any calls. Their job as a dispatcher is to report to the service manager, not to yell at the techs.
Exactly.
And if the techs say that Shariah as a dispatcher is constantly, not paying attention to where everybody is, not maximizing billable hours, people are driving, passing each other all day, and they always end up at the wrong place. The job goes again to bring it to their supervisor, field supervisor, which is my case, and then ultimately the service manager, so that you get people together. So the reporting order on that. So think of it kind of like the spine, right, of our body. This is the spine. And then to put the bones to it is, how do I cover each of these boxes with its own manual that covers about 80% of what goes on day after day? As contractors, what made us good, including yours truly, and we usually rose to be one of the best techs, is we're perfectionists. We are perfectionists, and it has to be perfect, because otherwise we're never going to let it get out in the world. Now, I'm sure that doesn't happen with the marketing stuff you two do when you work with contractors. You don't even have to say anything. You can just nod your head, because I know I'm right. So the reality is, it's the sickness which we have, but it was also what made us great. But it's also what chokes our company. We can never go and grow with we hold on to that. So one of the things that I learned, and by the way, it cost me $150,000 in today's money to put these manuals together back in the 90s. I had tried for years and years to write them. And every time I did, it came out like a law book, Article 1-.375. Good luck rolling that out, getting the input. And I was a New York City union shop. So I used to love as a contractor when I, when I was going around to different places, and especially as a consultant.
Al, I just want to ask one thing here,
Yes,
so that to the listeners, so that we can provide more, we should go in more in depth. What was the that point, when you decided to lay down 7-power contractor? What made you decide to come up with 7-power contractor, these fundamentals, principles?
Yeah, so I would love to tell you that I woke up and then an epiphany came, that it was just descended and transcendental, or whatever other way that you believe, because I'm highly spiritual. But the reality is, it was not. It was all of the falling in the holes and finding out the collapse. So one of the seminal moments for me is I woke up out of a nightmare in a cold sweat, and I went into the office, and we were in a very tiny office, my brothers and I, talking about our part of the office. No bigger than the room you're seeing here, which is the world headquarters of 7-Power Contractor, by the way. And so it was because my dad raised us, we don't make any money with you here, go out and do something. So I walked in, closed the door, and I said to them, I said, I woke up today in a cold sweat, thinking that everyone here could quit tomorrow, and what would we do? And I have to tell you, even if they stay, I feel like a hostage at our own company. How do you guys feel? And they said, yeah, we feel the same way. So what are you going to do about it? In the most New York sarcastic way you can possibly say it. And I said, I don't know right now, but I'm going to solve this. And so the lucky accident for me, of course, was my good friends Ellen Rohr and Dan Holohan, industry giants, said, you got to read this book called The E-Myth, Michael Gerber's book, which back in the 90s this happened. And what's really astounding is it has a giant life again, thanks to Ken Goodrich and other ones that are bringing it back. He's still out speaking, by the way. I saw him for the first time at 87. And so, wow, talk about impressive. But what that book did for me was it explained why things didn't work. It explained what I needed to do, but it didn't give me any help in how. So for those of you, by the way, go buy that book, E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and read it often. But what it most importantly said is, if you're always working in the business and never on it, nothing's really going to change. And that you need to have systems. And so I knew what I needed to do. And that's why I, again, hired my friend, Dan Hollihan. We ran all these meetings because he was the one that explained that these different departments affect each other. And we need to sit in the same room and work this out and come to objective language. And because he was such a great industry writer, and frankly, all of the guys, everyone in our company loved Dan. So Dan had that objectivity and he was going to get buy-in. And we agreed to play with a New York City union shop, by the way, like I was saying before. Yeah. So the obstacle was, would they buy in? And the answer was a screamingly yes. And the testimony to that was we had a union negotiation and we have a committee on there. And the guy who comes in from the union goes, "What's with the manual things?" I said, "Well, that's got to be part of the contract." He goes, "Oh, no way." And the guys on the committee go, "Oh, yes, these manuals are going to be in our contract because they protect us and they help us develop our career and make more money here. So yeah, put them in." So they were driving it. Talk about buy-in, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would say like the biggest cause of stress for contractors is, would you say it's a lack of clarity, organization? Like what starts to happen when they put these processes in place? Like how does it change the company in a cultural way and scaling potential that you've seen? Some examples of that.
Yeah, so obviously a long history of this, both at my own company now, 20 years, and watching companies grow and expand. So what it does immediately by showing the org chart. So the question about the org chart is, why would you guys, my employees, care about this org chart that I'm rolling out? And there's 4 reasons that you care. One is it shows you where are you today at the company. Now, you may not like it, but at least you know. And then the second thing it says is, where can you go in this company? Because I'm promising a career, not a job. We came up with that in the 80s. We had read a book, about employees and, employees for life. Can't remember the name of the title exactly, but basically my brothers and I decided we're going to provide careers, not jobs. And it also changed our philosophy because, Mandy, I know you've heard this, but reality is, most of our meetings, Shariah, was my brother Richie and I, who were the last 2 techs standing of the 25 guys at 2 a.m., exhausted in our office. Right. And we would just have these conversations. And Richie says to me, he goes, Mandeep was the best tech that we overpaid to bring him to our shop. He blew up our system. He's awful. And so we would have these conversations because we were always trying to hire lightning in a bottle. And for all of you listening, thinking that you can hire lightning in a bottle, good luck, because it's very hard to replicate. And even if you hire somebody by paying them more, we nicknamed them the dollar hoppers, which means if they hop to your shop for $1, they're going to hop to the next shop for $1. So we decided to take willing apprentices, no skills, and we developed all of what it takes to willing techs with great skills, and then create what we called management, where you basically work at our company. You can become an owner, if you will, in that you have a team to manage. You don't have all the headaches of running your own business. And that position is called field supervisor. So people that are underneath them are trained. The beauty of the org chart is not top-down management. It is bottom-up. The most important boxes is everything at the bottom, their ability to do their job. So if you're a manager, your first, second, and third job is to train everyone that reports to you on the manuals and the systems and the things that you use, like CRM and all the other apps and stuff that you use, so that they are empowered to own their box. And then your second job is start filling the pipeline.
Right. No, I think these are the things, those are like, always like missing, and we have no idea, like, especially to the home service industry owners. Thanks for sharing. So can you share a case study or success story, like, of any company they have implemented your 7-power contractor, all the principles, and they have, like, scaled their systems. Here you go. That's your book.
Read the book.
Read the book. By the way, those who are watching, they can watch. But for the listeners, we're going to link this book. You cannot miss this book from Al. It's called 7-Power Contractor. Let's talk about this book for a minute, where we can buy this book real quick.
You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it in paperback. It's
Okay.
myself and my person, Helena, helped me edit it. It is designed because I'm a slow reader and I'm dyslexic like most of you. You can read this within 4 hours. It was very hard to get it that small. I have tons of content. I didn't try to stuff it in here to impress you. I really sculpted a way to get to this. So there's a book, the version ebook, if you're an e-reader. And yes, if you love the way I speak, I also do an Audible. So you can get it any way you want. Yes.
That is awesome. I didn't know about that. Audible is available. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. As actually, it was somebody who told me, he goes, you know what, guys are stuck in the truck. You got to do an Audible. I go,
yeah.
Really? Who should I hire? They go, no one. You should do it.
It's got to be you. It's the character. You got that. I want to hear I want to hear Al reading the book to me. Okay. I want the full experience. So I'm going to reread it. And now I'm going to do the Audible now.
It's very funny. Some people, it was actually Matt Jones in Australia. He's does podcasts, and he's maybe 40 years old. And so he's going, you got to get the book. You got to get the book. I go, Matt, these guys are young and you're in Australia. You don't want to ship. You can listen to it. He goes, oh, no, you can't. He said, you can listen to it, but then you got to take this and yellow highlight it. My point of bidding this is there are case studies in here. From the day one, speaking to my love of marketing, Dan explained to me years ago, Dan Holla, the same person, he goes, what you say, Al, is interesting. But what I really want to hear is who is like me that says so? Who's your third-party testimonial? So in my company, forever, we were building testimonials. And people ask me all the time, can you ever have enough testimonials? Let me help you out. No, you cannot. You can never have enough testimonials. And I don't mean Google 5-star reviews, which are great. And there's a million reasons it's good. But I want to see short videos, impromptu videos, as many as you can take. And the 3 flavors of videos that I speak about in testimonials, or just testimonials themselves. One is the great product or service that made my, I'm warmer, I'm cooler, the house is better, whatever that is. The second one is I called you at 8 o'clock at night. I figured nobody would answer. A human answered, and a person was in a truck half an hour. My air conditioning worked again. And the home run is where they say all of that in one testimonial. So take your testimonial game up. And I guarantee you all the stuff that these guys do for you in marketing will magically be so much better. Who figured?
Especially the videos. And actually, I want to name it. So I'm gonna name that person. And he was on our podcast before. And his name is Aaron from Balance Comfort. And he mentioned that he has used your 7-power contractor, implemented your systems. You want to share his and his company growth, like how he did that? That would be perfect.
I would share the one, and no offense to Aaron, who's great, and there's been a ton of people successful, but I will go to the big whale, which is Tommy Mello of A1 Garage.
Here you go.
Yeah, Tommy Mello of A1 Garage. And by the way, I never tell any sales out of tail. This is all public knowledge. But when I started with him, it was very funny because the way people go, how did you and Tommy meet? I go, when Tommy just started his podcast, they reached out to me as one of the first people to be a guest. So the head of the podcast, my phone rings, pick it up. And I go, who's this? He goes, Tommy Mello. He goes, yeah, I just wanted to check in with you. I go, wait a second, Tommy. I see your area code. Are you in Arizona? Scottsdale? Phoenix? He goes, yeah. Where are you, Al? I go, Phoenix, Scottsdale. And so he goes, great. When we're done with the podcast, let's go to lunch. And so we talk about business and he goes, you're hired. And I go, what? Because I'm not here for a job application. Oh, no. You got to come fix my company. I'm really good at marketing all these things that I do, but I'm not good at everything you spoke about. So I walked in, he was 15 million in sales and losing money. I mean, really losing money. And, he was investing in himself.
And what was the year?
Oh, that was probably 2017, I think.
2017, 6 years ago. Got it.
Yeah. So the first goal was, let's stop losing money. 1, which we did. 2 was start making a lot of money, which we did. And then Tommy, of course, has blown it up to, and this structure and systems obviously have evolved, but they're all based on the same things that are here today. Everything I've spouted off about the planning, operations, staffing is still supporting his company, which is 200 million and making a ton of money that he was, attracted to PE. So that's probably one of the big ones, although there's plenty of case studies, people that have worked with me, but people in this program. I've like Mike Gittich is great guy out of Cleveland. He's got a handyman service that is just, he's doing the rebranding already with Dan Antonelli, all the stuff that, is
Amazing.
now common knowledge. But he's just blowing it up and doing great. So I count two things, really. When people want to show me their financials, I always said, wrong person. That's Ellen. But I do understand financials. Here's all I want to know. Gross sales, gross profit.
Yeah.
If you don't have both, I'm really not interested, because I don't care about your net profit. I don't care about your EBITDA or any of these other things until I know the gross sales and gross profit, because that's what my systems will affect. Yeah. And the case list is long of everyone that's there. And again, guess what? You don't have to take my say so, because if you go to my page, you'll see all of the testimonials, and I have a lot more than that. But Aaron is a great example of that, about this scalability. The two types of companies that I worked with for the 20 years when I was doing one-to-one consulting is basically great companies like Tommy, who had already figured out how to make the phone ring, but every time the phone rang, it was gasoline to a fire because they couldn't handle it. So providing that foundation in the systems, and that's really what changes it. So they take control of today and then can scale as big as they want to. And the second one is typically either family members or friends who went off to start this thing, and they run out of hours in a day, days in a week, weeks in a month. They can't clone themselves, which, by the way, was another conversation Richie and I had at 2 a.m. Because Richie was going on about, why don't the guys do this? And why don't they do this? And why don't they do that? And finally, I had read about the sheep with cloning. That was the first example of it. And I go, Richie, what you really want is a clone. And if they really were a clone and they were that good, let me ask you a question. Why would they be working here instead of going down the road and being in their own business? So you get the whole person. Our best chance to affect this is to start with willing people that we can train our way.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
100%. Like people say, oh, like who should I be investing in for training? Which guy? And they always choose the top producer or something like that. And I'm like, no, even if it's the least amount of production possible, if he's enthusiastic, if he has character, look for characteristics in people, and not if they're a producer or a top agent or not, and you just want to hire a bunch of superstars sort of thing. Yeah. I totally agree with that.
I get the idea about the superstar because it fits to the instant fix.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything. Well, after a while, what always invariably happens is, remember I mentioned about hostage? Yes. You bring them in, you're already saying, okay, here you go, put the handcuffs on, I'm good. And I'm not willing to do that. So at companies where I worked at, I was at a really great company that was an X-Star member. And I'm looking at, this is when they used to put it on the wall, the sales chart. And there was one guy that was just ridiculously above the rest of them. And all of them were trained well. So I just said to the owner, this guy may be all of that, but you better go find out how these sales are being created. And sure enough, they went out and found out, fortunately themselves, before a sting operation or something else like that happened. Well, here's the great news. They fired that person. And they set a sales record for the next 6 months when that guy was gone.
Because he was a cancer anyway.
To hear. Yeah. What you
I've seen it.
You know why that happened? Because the other ones said, there's integrity that you're willing to let go and do what we already all knew about this guy. And for that, they stepped up their game. The other thing I would share is every time, because operating power leads to staffing power, or operating manual, SOMS, signature operating manual system, leads to signature staffing system. I know you want the staffing system, you want the end result, but you have to do the first part to get to the second. So every time that I would run class, and I ran class at my own company for 20 years, and when I was handing it off, I spent 3 years training my field supervisors who I had built from scratch to run my classes long after I'm gone. And what everyone who's worked with me will attest to, they all say the same thing. The very best tech doesn't work here, because every time I run class, they get better because I get better. at what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're talking about investment, yes, of money, of time, but also it's worth all of your emotional energy to do so. Because every time you run that, so let's talk about an awful period of time, COVID land.
Yep.
Most people really were under this gun. My guys by far were growing during COVID because they had this pipeline already put together. There are always new apprentices arriving, and they were rising from apprentice to junior tech, from junior tech to senior tech, and doing senior tech to field supervisor the right way, not where you just appoint people and because they're a good tech think that they can manage people. They cannot. And the only example I always lean on is if I asked you to be a boss, Shreya, there's only two things that would ever happen. One is you watch the movie Horrible Bosses, and now you're going to be a SOB to everybody.
Yeah.
Or you want to be everybody's friend, and both of those don't work.
Yep.
So there's a program to ascend to that.
Totally. And speaking of instant gratification, because you touched on that, of course, we understand why people want to just skip the foundational, the processes, because it's the boring part to them. It's the part they want the shiny thing. So speaking of shiny things, that would probably be AI right now. And I
Yes.
saw you post an article, and I love that article. Maybe we could link that too, in the
Yeah, we
video because
should.
it was phenomenal. But I really wanted for you to speak on your opinion on how AI is going to be utilized in the future for operating manuals or, in the trades in general, and the misconceptions of something like that.
Yeah. No, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to tweak those manuals. I don't have to roll them out like you teach. I don't have to do all the other things. No, that's not true. So the other thing about it is when you open, and by the way, just so you're clear, is yes, I'm old. And so you're thinking, well, he just doesn't know technology. I have the
It's
latest
the
iPhone.
opposite.
Yeah,
It's
I have,
the opposite.
I have the latest
Yeah.
iPhone. I'm up to speed on everything. But that didn't start today. When I was in high school, we were one of the few high schools that had a mainframe computer. I don't know why, because we were in New York City, but I've been around computers, technology. Our company was way ahead. Our family business always invested in new technology. But here's the
Amazing.
difference. Technology is a tool in your toolbox. And if you're a tech, you should already know this. And if you're an owner, even more so. Is it the tool or is it the tech? Or is it the tech's ability to know how to use this tool and when?
Right. People are
And
still going to
that
have to
same
use
thing
it.
applies,
People.
yeah, to AI. Oh, I don't have to make a marketing piece. I'm just going to let AI do it. Well, go at it, my friends. I'm sure it could create that. Little problem with copyright and then really boring bad copy. And is there a headline or is there a ruiner that's going to make me read on through your copy? Who is saying whatever you're saying in the third-party testimonial in the piece? And at the end, did you put a call to action? Because otherwise, anything that you've put together is totally worthless. So
Right.
yes, I think you can use it as like the best way I would see it is like a personal assistant where I would delegate things to you, but I'm not letting you just do free reign. Because that's kind of what they think about these manuals is I'm just going to go tell AI to go find me some manuals. Like they don't fit together. And the analogy is still the same. If I gave you, I don't know if you're car people, but if I gave you the ability to build your dream car, would you
Right.
start with a Ford chassis, Toyota engine, Hyundai seats? No,
Yeah.
no, it's got to be integrated. And that same principles that I'm talking about absolutely applies to marketing. Can it be an agent to help? It can, but not free reign. Not like I don't have to
Assistance.
do anything.
Yeah, no, that's a great share. And since you mentioned about marketing, you and we are very passionate. I got to know you're passionate about marketing too. And you mentioned that how AI can help in the marketing. So what do you think, like how AI can help in the marketing? Like what's your take on, like, from the blogs, like what do you
I
think?
think they can do blogs and do the rest of it, but again, not just you have to really be at the controls and you need to know what it is you're using. And by the way, the open free ones, I get it that it's cheap, but it's open two ways. When you open the door to the world, you've also opened the door inside, and most of them do not know that. So if you're going to go AI, pay up to get AI and get someone who really knows AI and how to use this if you're going to be doing that. But it doesn't replace what you guys do is a marketing plan, marketing allocation, and a marketing calendar that's driving all year long, because those basics don't change. But
Right.
AI can do things like that. It can help populate, it can automate the things, because before we would run a piece, any piece, we
Right.
already thought about what do we need. And the number one thing was always testimonials. So if we wanted to run a piece, we need so many testimonials. And if we were doing direct mail, by the way, which still works today, we would have that also queued up. And then we would have it all set up so that through the year, we had what we call turn it on, turn it off marketing.
Yeah.
Because as you know, there's some things where you just go in, like if you're running a television campaign, you can't, pardon the pun, pull the plug so easily. And it's got to run 8 months to a year before you even know if it worked or not. And you have to reach a certain 3 frequency to know how many ears and the right ears are hearing it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for sharing. And I think we cannot, I think Shreya, we should have one more episode. I think Al has so much to share, and I think
I was
we have a
thinking the
lot to
same
cover.
thing.
Right? You were
Yeah,
thinking the same. I think we should have one more.
because I'm totally nerding out this whole episode. I've been just taking notes like under my desk right now. Just so it's more like I just want more time with Al selfishly. So I would really like I'd like to do another episode if you're open to it.
I would be honored. And just for the listeners, I have a ton of content on my website, 7powercontractor.com. The blogs are there, got videos to them and the rest of the stuff, and you can search it and find the topics. But the book really still is the spine for everything. So the blogs will complement that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
you know what? I have to tell you, I really need your $25, which Amazon takes 99% of it anyway.
oh, it is
Yeah.
like it's a lot of money, and you don't make money. And I know you have been providing a lot of money, but yes, a lot of money goes into fees. But to the listeners, please go ahead and grab 7 Power Contractor book. We're gonna link the website and Amazon link so that you can buy from there. And thank you, Al, for coming on our show. And definitely, we will be planning second episode pretty soon. And to the listeners, thank you for your love and support. If you go to Apple Podcasts and if you search Home Service Podcast, like a keyword, I am so grateful to share that we are ranking number 2. Number 1 is Tommy Mello Home Service podcast, and second is Born for the Trades. Thank you for so much for your love. Shreya, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just have been receiving a lot of support and a lot of love from everybody, and really not much hate. No hate really. So it's been awesome, because it is scary to do something like this and put yourself out there and create content to be judged. So to get such positive feedback is really awesome. And thank you guys so much for your support.
Thank you so much.